Sezno. I made a video called Valid Criticisms of Nirvana. My first video to like really reach people, to be honest with you. It's put me on the map, ladies and gentlemen, although mostly gentlemen. First of all, thank you if you watched it, and especially thank you if you are watching this one, if you clicked on this, because this is a follow-up. I want to clarify some things, my intentions with that video, and really to define valid criticisms, because the title was sorta clickbait. This is YouTube, bro. What do you want me to say? Like, welcome to the fucking game. But truthfully, I was not baiting anybody. That video was serious and it was well-intentioned. It elicited some very strong reactions. I thought about pulling up some of the comments that I received on it and doing like presentation style, like, let's examine this comment, but I fucking decided against it. The reactions in both directions, I think, prove the point of the video. If the video was like a social experiment, then the experiment was successful. And let it be known, I am gonna make more valid criticisms. This guy gets it. This guy right here. But I ought to say like what I want these to be, right? First of all, I did not think that video would reach that many people. Had I known that, I might have changed a few things. And there are a couple things in that video where, I guess I was just like totally incorrect, or I didn't know a reference or something, and I'd be the first to admit that. I made that video partly as like a mental challenge for myself, but also to comment on the state of music discourse, which I think is at a low ebb right now. I have a video on that if you're curious. Some context. I'm a big literature nerd, right? One of the things that I love about literature is how writers from many different generations talk about the writers that came before them. Sometimes with like unbelievably hot takes that don't stand the test of time. And the result is this like centuries-long discourse that reviews and reinterprets the work of the past. And through what a given writer says about the past, you can learn a lot about the ideas that are in their work. Like Joyce and T.S. Eliot both hated Milton. And when you read their books, this is clear as day. It's important for every generation to tackle the past, essentially, and come to their own interpretation of history, given what their relevant concerns are. And I really think that we should engage with music in the same way. I wanted to draw attention to my observations about Nirvana as an artist and a songwriter myself, to communicate some idea of the values that are in my work, should you choose to consume it. In other words, not to talk shit about Nirvana, but rather to unpack some serious thoughts about a very important creative influence on me. I made that video as an artist talking about other art. I'm not a music reviewer. That's not what this is. The whole point of the video is I love Nirvana. As I say at the beginning, maybe my favorite band. Like, no recess. But if somebody who was informed enough to carry a coherent argument were to offer these criticisms, in my opinion, they would be valid. I'm not saying that they'd be absolutely and unobjectionably right, or that I'm absolutely right, but it would be a perspective that I would take seriously. Clearly, those criticisms that I offered have not prevented Nirvana from being my favorite band. I don't care that they didn't play in 13/8. I don't care that Kurt wasn't Stevie Ray Vaughan on the guitar. I don't care that they ripped off the Pixies. But I am saying that other people might care. And Nirvana fans can't act like those people don't exist. One of the problems of musical discourse today is that people talk too much in absolutes. Some things are flawless and they're beyond criticism, and some things are devoid of any value whatsoever. You're not allowed to say that Tupac was bad. You're not allowed to say that AJR is good. And Nirvana is one of those bands that some people hold up as a sacred cow, as somebody said in the comments, where you almost can't criticize them at all. What are we, Swifties, bro? Are we not punks? Are we not open-minded? What I found so interesting about some of the comments is how many people took it personally that I had critical things to say about Nirvana. I mean, definitely not the majority or anything, but so some people resorted to saying things like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, you had to be there and you're 15 years old, so you clearly weren't. Oh, who the fuck do you think you are, kid? Well, you show us how it's done. Bro, I shouldn't have to tell you that like none of those statements are relevant in any way. None of those are valid criticisms of my video. I think those kinds of comments represent exactly the kind of thing that I believe is a problem in musical discourse, where for some people there's like no nuance to engaging with music. And there's like a lack of empathy towards different perspectives. And I felt this especially hard because I love Nirvana. I mean, I will always defend Nirvana. I see that video as the ultimate display of my love for Nirvana. And people should think deeply and critically about the artists that they admire. I think you can watch that video and conclude that I have loved Nirvana for a long time. Because I have, but there's like a side of the viewership there that like didn't see it that way. And another aspect of it I'd like to clarify, by making that video, there was like no preaching intended on my part towards a particular set of musical values. I think some people were offended by this. Only a snob would care that Nirvana wrote primarily in 4/4 and so on. Dude, I'm not saying that Nirvana would have been better with prog time signatures and less Claypool on bass, but I'm saying that there are musically knowledgeable people out there for whom those would be like reasonable assertions for why they're not crazy about Nirvana, minus the Les Claypool thing. You know what I'm talking about. And I couldn't disagree with the assertion because the proof is in the music. Nirvana are, of course, not objectively bad for being simple, for being minimalist, but they were simple and minimalist. And any well-rounded discussion of Nirvana's music would need to bring those things up. Whether or not you like it is a matter of taste. That's where we all differ. But meaningful criticism relies on proper observation and the ability to perceive different potential judgments from those observations. Again, I'll bring up the Breed solo. On the one hand, it's punk and it's tension and it's spontaneity. On the other hand, it's lazily composed bullshit. I don't think you could say that either interpretation is wrong. And it is not an insult to the band or their legacy or their fans to talk about the band or any other band in those terms. And really, the ability to recognize different views of an artist and their work is a sign of your deep engagement with it. It's a sign that you're using your fucking brain. Like, you feel me? I was generally very pleased with how many people wrote a lot in the comments, given their takes on like every second of the video, pretty much. I think that's exactly what I wanted. That's the kind of environment that I think criticism should be. And I'm glad that my video encouraged people to think pretty hard about it. Again, no expectation of like full agreement with me, but there is nothing wrong with expressing your ideas and conclusions from a work of art, and we should be able to do so civilly and to call it out when it's poor criticism. Anyway, yeah, that's a follow-up. I promise you, I see all your comments. I see it. I'm gonna make more. I'm working on more. I want them to be proper though, and I want them to be detailed, so like, you guys will have to be patient with me a little bit, but I'm gonna do them. It's a lot of fun. Again, my heartfelt thanks for anybody who supports me. Thanks for watching. Bye.